What's up, y'all? It's your boy Vinnie-Dangerous, and I'm back with another installment of Dangerous Minds. And this episode right here kicks off the return to the weekly format. We were doing the bi-weekly thing for a while. It was cool, but now I'm back and ready to go weekly. So every Sunday at 8 p.m., expect to see a new episode of the Dangerous Minds. And I appreciate everybody tuning in. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do so. And please become a subscriber to the Patreon site. The link will be in the description below. For just $2 a month, you'll receive exclusive content. You'll be able to give feedback and even suggestions that could be put in the shows for future episodes. So please subscribe to that. It's just $2 a month. You can get all the extra content that won't be on the main channel. But let's go ahead and get started, because this topic right here, I've been waiting. I announced it at the last episode because I knew I was going to talk about this from the minute I read that interview. So let me start off by saying that Andre 3000 is one of my favorite rappers of all time. Outkast is my favorite hip hop group ever, period. I love A Tribe Called Quest, Public Enemy, and Leaders of the New School, Brand Nubian. So many groups, so many dope pairings in hip hop, but there's none greater, to me at least, than Big Boy and Andre 3000. And I am hesitant to call him my favorite MC of all time for the simple fact that he does not have a solo album. Now, a lot of people, that's a big debate that's been around since Andre 3000 and Outkast decided to split and do their own thing. Big Boy has put out, tons of music since the last Outkast album, Out a While, including the album he actually put out this year, Boomerverse, which I think is already being supremely underrated. If y'all haven't heard that, please check it out. I think personally it's my second favorite album that he's put out by himself to this point. So I would definitely say go out and check that album out. But we've never gotten a solo effort from Andre, unless you count his side of the Love Below and Speaker Box, which was incredible in itself. So it's always been a debate. It's always been something that people have been wanting from Andre since they've heard him on features. They've heard him pop up every once in a while beside people like Frank Ocean, John Legend, Rick Ross. He's even done, he did the DJ Unk freestyle for Walk It Out back in '06. So people have been wanting that solo album from Andre, and it's always something that he's shot down or he just never spoke about. And one of his main gripes about putting out new music, he said it in previous interviews before, or not exactly a new music, but a new album, is the fact that because he's older, he doesn't feel like he has the ability to, produce music, because, he says the older you get, the slower you get, and he just doesn't want to be the old man in the club anymore. And this latest interview he did, as he was speaking about his new deal to be the new designer for the Tree Torn sneakers, he spoke about it because, of course, that question always comes up when Andre 3000 is doing an interview. They want to know, are you going to put out any music? Do you plan on putting out a solo album this year or anywhere in the near future? And his response was pretty much no. He said that if he, or, one of the other questions, will we ever see another Outkast album? And one of the things he spoke on was basically the fact that he says he doesn't want to be, he felt like that, he's 40 now, and he looks at hip hop and says that this is just something that he doesn't want to be a part of anymore, because he doesn't want to be the old guy. And, the older you get, the slower your mind gets, no matter who you are. He compared it to boxing. Being a boxer, the older you get, no matter how much skill you got and how much knowledge you have and experience, your mind is going to get slower and you're not going to be able to throw that jab like you used to. And I watched the company man, Justin Hunt, on his channel. He put out an episode with Rude Jude, and they had a discussion about this. And I agree with Justin Hunt's points when in the video he's speaking about it, where he was disappointed in Andre 3000. And I personally agree. I am disappointed in his comments, in this interview. Not because Andre 3000 said that he wasn't going to put out new music, because at the end of the day, it's his choice. If he doesn't want to be an MC anymore, if he just wants to do features, or if he's even done with features and we'll never hear another Andre verse, we'll never get that solo album or another Outkast album, it is disappointing as a fan, but at the end of the day, it's his choice. If he doesn't want to make music anymore, then that's what he wants to do. And then apparently this deal with Treetorn is, a very lucrative deal. He still got movies on the way. Apparently, he's still, doing other things that can get him, that can get his money to where maybe he don't feel like he need to put in that time in the studio anymore. And if he doesn't have the passion to just go ahead and do it, then I don't think he should. But the problem and the disappointment came from the fact that, the way he spoke about it, he wasn't speaking about it as a personal way. And maybe he just chose his words wrong, and maybe he only meant that, as speaking to himself. But just hearing the way he put it together was pretty much saying the older you get, the slower you get. And to create art, you have to be at a certain age and you have to be at a certain point to survive in hip hop. And it's one of the things that has been, a constant debate in hip hop. They say at some point, maybe you should give it up. Maybe at some point, if you haven't already made noise, you shouldn't, try to actively pursue a music career. And I can see, arguments about that, but I personally don't feel like that there should be an age limit put on hip hop. We've seen it with certain artists that are still putting out constant music, that are still putting out music at the level of maybe even doing better work than they did in previous releases when they were younger, because now they're older and now they're wiser. So, and they're more traveled and more experienced, and they could possibly put together better music, better content than they could have when they were just coming out of the projects, or they were just coming out of whatever situation they were in before they became famous. And now they have money, and now they have the ability to travel places, to meet different people, to experience new things that they couldn't do before they had come across success. And we've seen it with Jay-Z, we've seen it with Tech Nine, we've seen it with Nas, we've seen it with Killer Mike, Killer Mike is an example of somebody who I feel is putting out some of the best work that he's ever put out in the last few years with the Run the Jewels albums than he did in his previous works with his previous albums and efforts. So this idea that if you're a rapper and you've been around for a while, you have an expiration point, no matter if you're 30, 40, or 50, or so on and so forth. I feel like once you feel that the passion is not there anymore, once you feel that, you're not putting out music on the same level anymore, you just don't really feel like you got it in you no more. If that's a personal decision you decide to make within yourself, then that's something you should do. But the idea that, we have other genres like rock and R&B and pop and, blues and jazz, nobody puts age limits on them and say, hey, you need to go ahead and stop. You're 50 years old, you need to put your guitar down, you need to put the microphone down, and you need to go ahead and do something else. Nobody ever says that about other genres, but when it comes to hip hop, everybody wants to say that you're too old, you're too, you've been around, you've done enough, that's it. And it's always been a thing, there's always rappers talking about old heads, and there's always people saying that, you're too old, you're too disconnected from the culture, hip hop is a young man's sport, all that stuff. But I feel like hip hop has created a legacy for itself to where now we have fans that can fit those demographics, that don't want to hear what the young people are saying because they honestly don't they don't identify with them. They don't identify with the younger generation and the topics that they want to discuss because it's not, what they grew up on or what they understand. But there's other MCs that are around their age that they could cater to, they could listen to and connect with. And if they decide to hang it up just because they've reached a certain age, should hip hop fans be expected to stop listening to hip hop at a certain age? I don't believe that's the case. We're not talking about like nursery rhymes or like kids bop albums or something like that. You know, certain things that you might have listened to at a certain age, and they're designed for a certain age and certain demographic. And at a certain point, you should just give that up. I mean, honestly, if you're a grown man or a grown woman that wants to listen to kids bop, I mean, go right ahead. I mean, nobody's stopping you from doing what you want to do. But, you know, there's nothing in the rule books to say that you should stop doing music. I feel like one of the biggest examples of that is Jay-Z. Jay-Z has been putting out music since 1996. I mean, before that, but his first album came out in 1996. And, you know, he's been consistent. I mean, you may feel that some of his newer work might be, you know, might not be the greatest, or they might not compare to Blueprint and Reasonable Doubt and albums that came before Magna Carta and Kingdom Come and American Gangster. For one, I feel like Blueprint 3 is severely underrated, sorry. Is severely underrated. It's one of the best overlooked Jay-Z albums that he's ever put out. And his newest album, 444, is definitely one of the best albums that have come out this year. And I will be doing my best albums of 2017 review at the end of the year. And unless a few more albums come out to knock that album out of the park, there's no way I'm gonna put any, like, there's no way that album is not gonna be on my list. Like, it's an album that has definitely shown that the growth and the experience that Jay-Z has accumulated over his time in the rap game and in his life and just in his business ventures and different things of that nature, that, you know, a 25-year-old is not going to be able to bring, you know, just because the experience is not there, just because, you know, the success and the lessons that Jay-Z can teach are not going to be instilled in somebody that just got into the game. So I feel like for many reasons, even beyond what I'm covering in this video, hip hop should not be considered something that is just for the 30 and under. It shouldn't be something considered, you know, that when you reach a certain point in life, you have to give it up. There's nothing in the rule books that say that. Hip hop just celebrated its 44th birthday, meaning that this genre hasn't even been around as long as other genres. So for a genre, like Justin Hunt said, that is still defining itself, there's nothing that says that there is a concrete set of rules to where you're not able to create music. And just like there's no one particular way to do hip hop. That's why hip hop has been so successful, and that's why as of this year it's been determined that it is the most popular genre in the world, beating out rock. And one of the biggest things about that is because the hip hop is a shapeshifter. It doesn't have to cater to one particular sound, one particular audience. It can be taken and molded and rearranged into a different, you know, a different format that caters to another specific person. And it spans the world over. And that's one of the things that is so great about hip hop, is that it's so inclusive. But for a genre that was built on the fact that it's so inclusive, we shouldn't be exiling people just because of their age. But that's all I got to say about it. I appreciate y'all taking the time to watch. Like I said, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that. Become a Patreon and receive exclusive content for just $2 a month. And I'll be with y'all next week for another installment of Dangerous Minds. Peace, love, and I'll see you next time. I'm proud to say I built my bread on honesty, so I really appreciate if you ain't lie to me. I ain't like these other rappers, they all lie to me. That's why I'd rather speak the truth, it'll set you free. Girl, I'm proud to say I built my brand on honesty, so I'd really appreciate if you ain't lie to me. I ain't like these other rappers, they all lie to me. That's why I'd rather speak the truth, it'll set you free.